Nothing grabs, holds, and dishes out heat quite like cast iron, but iron has to be treated or cured to prevent sticking and rusting. Luckily, this is an easy procedure. Set your oven to 350 and slide a wide pan or a piece of foil onto the bottom rack. Now, if the iron is new, soak for 5 minutes in hot soapy water to loosen the wax applied at the factory. Then wash, rinse, and dry thoroughly. Then, drop in a tablespoon of shortening and park in the oven for a couple of minutes. Take a paper towel and rub the fat all over the pan, inside, outside, handle, everything. Return to the oven upside down to prevent excess fat from pooling in the bottom and polymerizing into a plastic-like blob. Bake for an hour, cool, wipe clean, and store in a dry place, like your pot rack. If you recure once a year, avoid harsh detergents and scouring pads, you'll have a friend for life. Ever wonder why cutting an onion can feel like a tear gas attack? Because when you cut into an onion, cells rupture, releasing enzymes which break down nearby sulfur compounds into oxides and acids. These reform to make a nasty gas. This gas moves into your eyes, mixes with your tears, and forms sulfuric acid. Ouch! What can you do? Well, goggles or a scuba mask would protect your eyes, but you look kind of funny and it's hard to see what you're doing. Spritzing vinegar on your cutting board will interrupt the chemical reaction, but I think the lingering stink is worse than the tears. Cutting near an open flame works surprisingly well. The flames create convection, pulling in air and most of the fumes, which are then incinerated. In the end, though, a sharp knife is your best defense because it damages fewer cells. Less damage, less gas, fewer tears. Sure, you're still gonna have a good cry from time to time, but hey, that's life in the big kitchen. Happiness is a sharp knife. Trouble is, even a great edge won't stay that way if you use it. Luckily, with some basic blade maintenance, we can help our edges last longer. Now let's say for a moment that this is a sharp knife. Okay, over time, the edge gets bent out of shape. Or it's still there, it's just not pointing at the food anymore. This is where a honing steel can help. Hold the steel vertically and lightly pass the knife 5 times down on one side, then 5 times down on the other side, then 2 times again on the first side. Although a 15-degree angle is considered perfect, just pretend you're trying to cut off a thin slice of the steel. Do this a few times a month, and odds are you'll be able to go a year between sharpenings. What is sharpening? Well, eventually, this edge is going to literally wear away, and the material will have to be removed to create a new one. That is called sharpening, and as far as I'm concerned, it's best left to professionals. So, enjoying those holiday mashed potatoes? Taste good, do they? But I don't understand. You said, oh, I see, pasty and gummy enough to build a mountain. You know why? Well, when most people mash or whip potatoes, they end up unleashing an oozy, gummy gluiness that's not too appealing. You, want to make some you can actually eat? Well, then come on! Yes, now! First step is the ripe potatoes. Now, any Idaho russet style will do the trick, but I like Yukon Gold. So take 2 pounds of these and peel them and then cut them into uniform 1/2-inch pieces. Then move these to a 4-quart saucepan and cover with about 1 inch of cold water. Crank the heat to high and cover. Then remove the lid and decrease the heat to maintain a simmer. Continue to cook until the potatoes can easily be crushed with a pair of tongs. Now, you're pretty good with those tongs, aren't you? Yeah, well. Now drain those potatoes before they overcook. And then get the pot back over here on the stovetop. There, now add 1 stick of butter cut into small pieces, and we want to add 1/2 cup of heavy cream, along with some salt, that's right, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Just grind that right in. Go ahead and bring that to a simmer over low heat. Now, for the spuds, what do you got to mash those things with? I see. Yes, all very nice indeed, but those are the kind of things that get you into trouble. What you really need is a food mill. And if you can find one with exchangeable dies, you'll want to use the one with the smallest holes. Now just place that right over the pot, add about 1/4 of the potato parts and crank away. You know, this wouldn't seem like so much work if you got some exercise every now and then. There, now once you've got all the potatoes milled in, just stir to combine with the creamy goodness. But don't overwork them, just stir to combine. There, now those mashed potatoes are so good, you might want to skip the turkey, the dressing, the sweet potatoes, Aunt Vera's congealed carrot salad. Well, you get the point. Once upon a time, there were 4 brothers. 3 had marketing degrees. The 4th was a farmer. Each had a chicken. Now, the first brother called his chicken natural. Did he mention that any chicken not containing synthetic ingredients or chemical preservatives can be called natural? No, but his chicken sold for $1. The second brother labeled his chicken hormone-free. The fact that hormones have to be frequently injected in order to be effective and are therefore useless in commercial poultry production wasn't something he mentioned, but he got $2 for his. The third brother opened the door of his chicken's cage and called it free range. He earned $5 and the admiration of the first 2 brothers. The fourth brother quadrupled the size of his chicken's coop, grew it a nice field of Roman, fed it organic vegetarian feed, and never gave it antibiotics. He christened his bird Organic and got $8 for it, along with a federal fine for $10,000 because you can't sell your chicken as organic unless you submit to third-party certification. That's not marketing, kids. That's the law. Although the Romans invented the concept of ounces and pounds, the Saxons actually standardized the pound as weighing 5,760 grains, a grain being equal to the weight of 1 barley corn. Now this is called a troy pound, and although it's still used by the precious metals industry today, back then merchants found it cumbersome, so they concocted a 15 troy ounce pound weighing 7,200 grains, and then finally a 16 ounce 7,000 grain pound, which was originally used by Italian wool merchants. Now we still use this system called avoirdupois for goods of weight to this day because a 16-ounce pound is easily divisible by eighths. Now, an avoirdupois ounce also breaks down into 16 drams, but Americans prefer to break theirs down into fractions, which makes life in the kitchen very, very tedious. Is there a cure for this madness? Go metric! Hey, fella, that's a nice looking turkey, but hey, you're not gonna carve that right now, are you? Before you've made the, you know what? Oh, come on, no gravy? For shame. Please, tell me you didn't wash the roasting pan. Oh, well, thank goodness for that. Come on, let's hit the gravy. Place that roasting pan over medium heat using 2 burners if the pan is big enough. Then, as soon as it's hot, deglaze the bottom with 24 ounces of reduced or low sodium chicken broth and 8 ounces of red wine. As the liquid boils and reduces, scrape the bottom to loosen and dissolve any flavorful bits that may be stuck there. Then, pour the liquid into a fat separator, also called a gravy separator, which is a device that you really ought to have if gravy is something that you plan on making. It will allow the fat to separate out to the top, where of course it naturally wants to go, and then you can pour out the flavorful liquid from below. Now, since we are going to save that, we'll just pour that off into a waiting measuring cup. Watch out, there you go. There, you just have the fat. Of course, a little bit of the liquid will remain, and that'll hiss when it hits the still hot pan, but that's okay. So the fat goes into the pan. Now, as for the thickening agent, we will add 1/3 of a cup of plain old all-purpose flour, and you're gonna wanna whisk that like crazy. Now, coating the flour granules with fat will keep the gravy from lumping, and the heat will cook out that raw cereal flavor. Got it? All right, keep whisking until that mixture starts to smooth out and thicken just a little bit. Good. There, now bring the reserved liquid into play and continue whisking. As that comes to a boil, those flour granules will gelatinize, thus thickening the liquid. There you have it. Now, finish that up with a tablespoon of fresh herbs like thyme, rosemary, or oregano, or any combination thereof. Now remember, the gravy, which looks pretty good now, see, coats the back of a spoon. That's called nappe, don't you know? Now, if this is going to go into a gravy boat, you will probably want to pull it when it's still a little bit on the loose side, because as it cools, it is going to thicken a little bit. But if you're really a gravy fan, you'll skip the gravy boat altogether and simply go with a nice big thermos. Sure, your dining room will look a little bit like a construction site, but hey, that's the price of cuisine. Now, when it comes time to serve, some people pour directly onto the bird and carve. Some like it on the, hey, what are you doing there, fella? No, tell me you are not going to, oh my, the humanity. No, I'm telling you, as your cardiologist, you can't, oh, that's a gravy aficionado. Hey, is that a turkey? Or no, let me guess. It's a modern sculpture. Don't tell me. Poultry, descending staircase. No, well, you know, sometimes a bird looks better and roasts better if a cook shows a little restraint. Restraint? Yeah, now you're thinking. All right, trussing begins with a clean, bird pointed away from you. Now, I like to use just cotton or even a linen twine, but for the sake of demonstration today, we'll be using a big 12-foot long piece of purple tent rope. Now, make a loop right in the middle of this rope and hook that over the little nub where the turkey's head used to be installed. Yeah, the neck, there you go. Just right over it. That's going to be our main anchor point. Now, bring the rope down either side of the breast and then tie into a nice, tight surgeon's knot, okay? Right there, nice and tight. Now, making it tight is going to help to kind of push the breast up into a nice kind of balloonish. Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Now, I realize that some of you may have never tied a surgeon's knot before, so here's how it goes. It starts like a regular half knot, like tying your shoe, only you're going to add another loop. See? Go through it again. There, so you've got a kind of a double pass. Now, the rest of the knot finishes just like a normal knot. There you go, kind of a nice, I think they call that a half hitch in the Boy Scouts. There you go. So before you tighten it, it would look something like this. When you tighten it, it looks, well, something like that. It won't slip and it'll never let go. So once you've got that done, take one of the lines and hook it around one side of the bird's leg and up around the breast again. Repeat that on the other side. So again, around the legs, crossing, and back up towards the breast. Now when you pull that tight, it's going to pull one drumstick over the other. There, just like that. Now the rope goes up and around and right into the little nubbins, those little things that stick out on the side of the wings. Now flip over, don't worry, it won't come apart, and make another half surgeon's knot. Remember, not just one pass or half hitch, but a double. There you go. Now draw that up tight, and don't worry, it won't slip. Now bring the line up, or rather down, towards the back end of the bird, flip again, and tie with, yes, another surgeon's knot right over the legs. There's one half knot, and then one final knot. Now, once you've got that done, you're finished. Just trim up that line, and you've got yourself a nice compact shape that will never let go or fall apart. Of course, this compact shape will help to guarantee even cooking and eventually simple carving. You don't have to worry about removing the string because it'll come off as you make your slices. Now, mentioning carving, well, that'll have to wait for our next episode.